Welcome to the Working Women's Channel. My name is Clara Capano, and we're going to share the real secrets to success. Come on in. Welcome, everybody. We are here for another amazing episode of the Working Women Channel, where we share the real side to achieving success for women in business. I am Clara Capano, and I am so excited to welcome my next guest, Ms. Yamilca Rodriguez. And Yamilca, you and I met actually in the collaboration of the Women Who Boss Up book almost 2 years ago. So we've been able to share the stage together and just really be able to connect on so many levels. So thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh, I'm so excited, Clara. I love the work you're doing. And it's been a long journey for us in the last 2-3 years now coming up. And it's been so fun and so amazing to actually have met you in person.
I know. I know. Between both of our travels, somebody asked me where I live, and I'm like, DIA, Denver International Airport. That's pretty much where I live. But it's so good. And I love seeing, what you've been able to create. And one of the things I loved, and I know we'll get to your story in a minute, but, you have just created so much success and have worked at some really high level companies. And I would love to ask you, the road to success is not always easy. And male, female, whoever we are, we're always going to have hurdles and roadblocks. What would you say when you're looking back over your career? What was maybe a boundary or a challenge that you faced, and how did you pivot and work around it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the boundaries, for me, they're always self-made. We
Mhm.
make them ourselves. And I think I just didn't value the work that I did, to be honest. If I look back, really thinking about it, I didn't value the work that I was doing because, first of all, either I didn't charge for it or I just gave it out for free or I charged too little for it, and
Mhm.
it was really after thinking through it, like, why is this happening to me? What's going on with me? It was really about not valuing myself.
Yeah. And I think that that's a common theme for so many women out there, regardless of what industry you're in. I've seen it with attorneys, real estate professionals, almost everyone out there. There is this common theme that we ask for less than we think that we're worth. What were some of the things that helped you to truly understand your value?
Yeah, it's that's really great. We did the Boss Up book together, and I
Mhm.
remember when I was sharing my ideas and what I was doing with Tam Luck, a common friend of ours. She was like, "Wow, Yamoka, you could charge so much for that, right?" And I think at the beginning, it wasn't about not charging that amount. It was more about I didn't have the right clients, right?
Mhm.
I wasn't connecting with the right people. And it was hard, and this is what I work on for other individuals. I help them find their super fan, but I wasn't focused on my super fan at the
Mhm.
beginning of what I was doing. So it really took me a while to come to that conclusion and to really look at it from that perspective. And now, to be honest, what I do now is I don't even take on clients that don't value the work for themselves.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's not about me, it's about my clients who don't value the work that they can do on themselves to take the next level on their business.
And it's so true. And it's like, it's this funny notion that, we're so good at helping others, but then when it comes to doing the same things for ourselves, we have stumbling blocks, maybe just because we're too close to it. But let's get into again kind of what you do and why it's so important for women in business to understand this. You are a branding specialist. And I'll be honest, for many years, I didn't even know what that meant. But it's in the being able to articulate who you are, who you do, so that you can find that true client. Because when you are working in alignment, the whole world opens up. So tell me a little bit on why it's important for us to understand this concept of branding.
Yeah, it's people have their different understanding of what the word branding means,
Mhm.
right? And it does have different definitions. And I think when you tell somebody branding, they might think, oh, a logo, or a font or something like
Mhm.
that. But branding is much more than that. And what I do in particular, I have a very particular kind of niche that I focus on. And that is I use psychology to really help you understand your character, what I call your fame character, so you can develop that character, be consistent so the client sees you that way every single time. And what happens with that is that using the science of opposites attract, you can attract the opposite. Because what happens when you attract this somebody like you is that they might say, "Oh, I can do what she does. I don't need her services. I don't need to pay for that." Right? And so this framework that I work under is all based on psychology, archetypes, also on the opposing forces of looking at your ideal client, which I call super fan. And then that also transfers over to execution. So at the beginning, when we met, I was trying to really focus on strategy only, which is kind of like figuring out your message,
Mhm.
how you communicate to your super fan, who is your super fan. I was creating like all those different things. But then my clients didn't know how to execute on that. And so I learned along the way that I had to pivot my business and really, yes, I don't do anything without doing that foundational work. But after we do the foundational work, I start to execute, whether it's the logo or your website or your message, and how all that comes together in a system, because there is a system to it. And a lot of times, as business owners, what we do is we have somebody do the logo, have somebody else do the website, have somebody else do that, somebody else do this. And then there's no cohesiveness in your brand, because your brand is not just the logo or the website, or it's how you communicate, how you speak out into the world. It also has to do with how you dress, how you project yourself in the world. You are, whether you want to think about it or not, you are a product.
Yeah, you
You
are.
have to
Mhm.
brand that product. So before I did personal branding, I was doing product. I worked on billion-dollar brands, and I was defining the product story. What is their character, right? Products had to have characters, and we had to have ideas and themes and all these concepts to create a persona of that product. So
Mhm.
now I'm creating personas of the person. And it's
Yeah,
so
yeah,
fascinating because people don't see themselves
they
as a
don't.
product, as a when we go out there and we do business with other people, even when we don't, we are a product, and we have to brand ourselves that way.
Yeah. And I think that this is, so important because regardless of what industry we're in, I mean, even if we're a teacher, we're still the product because we have to get buy-in from our students. So again, I think just again, it's this whole thing of how are you showing up? And at the end of it, how are you going to have the best connection possible? And then being that I'm all about productivity, what I have found, and I would love your thoughts on this too, is the reason it's so important to get in alignment and to find that super fan is because when you work with the right people, you can be more productive. Do you find that as well?
It's so true. Like at the beginning of my career, or my entrepreneurship, let's call it that, not career per se, but when I left corporate and I decided to kind of do my own business, I was kind of like everybody else, throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to figure out what was sticking, what was not sticking. And there were times where I kind of veered in a different direction, and then people would be like, "Why are you veering? Aren't you supposed to be doing this?" Even my husband would say, what are you doing? Like, get back in your channel. And so you kind of do that. It's kind of like we're testing the waters, we're testing things, we're kind of learning, right? And then there's a point where you come to this realization that, oh my God, I have something that really can help people. And then you start getting, you at the beginning, you take any client you can, right? And then you're angry because you got the wrong client, they're kind of difficult. And then
I've never had that happen ever.
you
Everything is
start to
done
learn,
so
like,
smoothly from day one.
I know. And then you're like, I should have done this differently. And
Mm.
I'm always open to learning from my mistakes. But the moment I figured who was my actual client and opened up to that, it was like, you know, we get spiritual here a little bit. It's like the universe was telling me, was opening up the doors to those types of people.
Mhm.
And then I started getting a lot of people interested in what I was doing because they could see how they could execute, how they
Yeah,
could grow their business, how they could really be the brand that they always wanted to be.
that's great.
And so it was just like, I don't know how I say this, like, you go through different phases in your business. And I went through every single phase. And now where I am today, I'm still growing, right? I'm
Mhm.
still learning. There's certain things that I've had to, raise my prices, raise my awareness, say no to certain projects. And
Mhm.
and that really starts to help you. Oh, wow, I've already made today, we're halfway through the year. I've made um more than what I made the entire year last year.
See, and that's so great. And it's again, when you get that clarity, because again, going back to the idea of saying no, it's so much easier to know what you need to say no to when you know who your ideal client is, because it's just that checks and balance. If this opportunity is here, does it fit in with what I'm trying to do and who I'm trying to do it with? And it just makes it so much easier for you to not have the guilt if you say no, because you could also probably refer it to somebody that it is better for. But again, it really keeps you in alignment for all of those. So
Yeah, and it's really interesting because I had a client, not a client, but I had somebody reach out to me. They want to talk to me. They kind of found me on the internet. They wanted to know more about what I did. And I knew at that moment that they weren't the right client. But instead of like telling them, you're not the right client for me, what I did was say, hey, this is what I think you need. I'm going to send you all the information. And then you decide if you want to reach back out and we can have a bigger conversation. Which was interesting. And I at the beginning, I wanted just so much help and lower my prices to just help her because I knew she didn't have the funding. But then I thought, it's not going to be a service because she's not ready. She's not ready either to take on this. Because what I
mhm.
noticed, and this is key for any business, is that when you lower your prices to meet somebody's needs, you're going to be doing all this work that is not going to be fruitful for them. And so what I learned is that if I keep my pricing and my, what I believe is right to do for the client, and they decide to take the step to come to me, then they're ready.
Yeah,
They're ready to do
absolutely.
that, right?
There is
And
something to be said. And it's hard to say no, but again, you got to stay in integrity, with everything that you're doing. And sometimes the best way to maintain the integrity is to let them know you're not ready for this.
exactly.
Yeah,
Ex-
I love that. So, you mentioned the idea of, y- you had to pivot a lot and you're still going, knowing that you're going to pivot. As we're on our path to success, it's not always smooth. And I don't like to use the word sacrifice because I think that that's a negative thing. But sometimes there are trade offs. It could be giving up a little bit over here so that you can get more over here in the long run. Can you think about any trade offs that you have had to make, to get yourself to where you are today?
Yeah. So I decided at the beginning of the year that I was going to become an agency, right? And what that did for me, because when you start executing, you're not a consultant anymore, right? You're not a coach, a consultant. You're actually executing for the client. That means you're becoming a small agency. And I didn't at the beginning, I had all these preconceived notions. I worked at agencies. I knew I didn't want to do that. And so I needed to let go. And this is like a more ethereal concept, but I
Mhm.
needed to let go of the concept that I had in my head of what was an agency,
Mhm.
right? I knew what kind of agency I wanted to be, and I could show a different type of agency. It
Yeah.
didn't have to be the cookie cutter agencies that we know are today. And you can
Mhm.
set the expectation for that. And so that was something I needed to let go of, or a trade off that I had to do with myself, is
Yes.
to say, this is not the agency you have in your head. This is the agency you want to have in the future.
So powerful, because I think you are so right. We pigeonhole ourselves by some sort of standard definition or by the perceptual map that has been programmed. And we forget, oh, I can change it and create it to be the way that I want it. And I think that that's a big message for, women to hear. As you are looking back, I don't like to say that there are regrets, because I think every opportunity is a growth opportunity for us. But in looking back, if you could go back in time, is there anything, knowing what you know today, that you would have approached differently?
Definitely. If I look back, when we start, and this, we start this online business, we try, we start putting ourselves online. I started to do things, execute on things that I hadn't tested. So I have tons of courses that never got bought. I have tons of material that never got launched because I created things before testing them. Today, I would tell everybody not to put a single step forward towards something you haven't tested with somebody prior. So give it out for free. Talk to your friends, say that you're going to do a test with her. You don't have to do a test with, a paying customer. You can.
Mhm.
It's always a test. I actually, when I decided to do my first round of kind of testing this out, what I actually did is I got three paying customers, and it was great. I got three paying customers that paid for the test, but I gave them too much, right? I overextended myself because I
Mhm.
want, they were paying, I wanted to give them everything. So I learned from that too. But what I would say, first of all, is if you have a course idea, if you have a freebie idea, if you have any sort of idea for your business, test it out and evolve it.
Love that.
Try it, fix it, see what people want in it,
Mhm.
listening to them, putting on there what they need. And that's why I'm so focused on the super fan. And we write this whole persona profile on it, because you need to psychologically understand everything about them and make sure you're giving them what they need, not what you think they need.
Yes. Ah, gosh, so much. It's so great to talk with you. And I mean, you've got my head swimming about some of the things that I'm doing right and wrong, and, allowing me to go back and re-audit. So I know the simple answer is somebody's out there and they're feeling like they're not connecting, and again, they have all these tools, but none of them are speaking to each other. The best thing is to just have them come and work with you. But if that's not possible for them right now, what would be maybe one step that they can start with?
Yeah, so I think the first step, I have a real simple quiz. It's a brand quiz, and you can take it to understand your personality and see if that personality fits with everything that you're doing. That's a super easy,
Mm.
simple, free step. The other thing is, I have a podcast where I interview a lot of entrepreneurs or people who working in big companies. That's another way to kind of get a little of understanding of. I don't talk too much about the methodology there, but you can start to see how other people think,
Yeah.
right? What makes them tick? What makes them a brand? How
Yes.
do they think about their brand as I ask these questions? Because everybody, like I said before, is a brand. So that those are ways, I have a couple of books on Amazon. Another way to kind of get kind of your foot wet into this process. And on Instagram, I have things that I post questions,
Hmm.
about questions that you should be asking yourselves
Yeah.
as well, to understand how you put yourself out as a brand.
Yeah, I love that. And we definitely will put all the links to your website and everything in the show notes so people can go and take that quiz. I know I did it and it was a lot of fun. And it really did get me thinking about just the little, like the words that I'm using on my website. You really helped me make sure that I was talking to the right person, really thinking about not what it is that I need, but what is it that my super fan needs. So again, it really helps you learn, how to show up and do that. So I think it's just fantastic. So
And
you just, yeah,
actually made me think of something
yeah.
for your listeners only. If they write to you or to me, I have a mini quiz that I've been selling for $30, but I'll give it to them for free. I'll just send them everything if that's something that they're interested in.
I love it. So if should they email you and just say saw you on the podcast? Is that what you're looking
Yeah.
for?
Yep.
Beautiful. Love it. So yeah, so we'll put that email in there and just email her or me and say, send me the mini quiz. And we'll get that out to you. That's so kind of you. I appreciate that. And I know I'm hoping many people take you up on it because you are just a wealth of knowledge. So, you just launched your agency, which is hugely exciting, and it's called Bespoke. Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit, what does that mean?
Yeah. So I let me go a little bit backwards so you understand the context. So when I decided to go on my own and start my own business, I actually did a fashion business. I was a fashion producer. I did fashion shows and managed the entire event and all these crazy things that I had never done in my entire life, but it was super fun. I had a ball and learned tons from that. And I called it Bespoke, Louisville Bespoke. And actually, a good friend of mine has said, you should call it bespoke. And I'm like, I don't even know what that word is. Like, nobody uses that word. I mean, this was like 7 years ago. And I looked it up and it's tailored. It's what people used to use that word for in England for bespoke suits were tailored suits,
Okay.
like made customized to you.
Mhm.
And so I took the word on. I tell you now, there's bespoke kitchen, there's bespoke everything. Bespoke is everywhere. When I started using it, nobody used it. So I decided to call my agency Bespoke Branding Agency because it's about tailoring it to the client. It's all about the client, making sure that we understand the foundation. Because I'll tell you, somebody who doesn't know you will do your logo and you will be not happy
Exactly.
because they have not grasped the essence of who you are. And so that's why bespoke was such a I got so tied to that word. My first business was Louisville Bespoke. This business is now Bespoke Branding Agency because I do believe in tailored experiences.
Love that. That's fantastic. So what's next for you?
Yeah, so many fun things happening. I started my own podcast about a couple months ago, and it's been so fun. I'm sure you've had the ball, you had a ball yourself on this, but it's been so fun for me. So I
It's
love
amazing.
doing.
Mhm.
You're going to be on my podcast soon as well, and so that's been fun. I'm getting ready to launch a book. We keep pushing the date, and we still haven't finished the draft, but we're working on it, and that's super exciting because it's going to really frame a new economy that we're kind of bouncing some ideas around. The other thing is I'm still growing my agency. I'm taking a huge vacation next week. And so I'll be out for a couple of weeks, but I will come back really taking on some new clients. And right now I'm not taking any new clients until I get back from that. So that's kind of this agency concept keeps growing and growing and growing. I keep seeing the bigger potential. So in the next 5 or 10 years, this is just not going to be what it is today. It's just going to be this incredible piece, because what I've noticed with my clients is that I don't just do their website, their logo, their, everything that visually they touch, but then I talk about I'm doing photography for them
Wow.
and really getting their look and style, and hiring clothes stylists and makeup artists that really can get their full brand look. And so I see this going into film. And I just did a film for myself, and I'm hoping that that I can do films for my clients and really get this to be a, an agency that really focus on the individual in the future. So I'm super excited about that.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. When you and I first met, even though it was just over Zoom, I was always just blown away by not only your professionalism, but you have so much passion for what you do and so much grace. And I love the idea that it is all about the customer experience. It is all about, again, really going deep so that you can have those connections. You want success for your clients. Your success is wrapped up in their success, and you never hold back. I've had some questions on things I've done, and you've always been there to just give me a really, quick answer. And I've just always respected that. And I have so much respect for you and what you're building. And I just cannot wait to see it continually grow. So thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you, Clara. I've also been inspired on how much you've moved your business forward and everything that you are doing, which is so exciting. I mean, you're doing film, you're doing shows, you're doing all those kind of things that, I wish other people would actually take on and do, because it really, it's not easy, as put yourself out there. But when we know that that's our passion and that that's what we need to do, there's no question about it. So I
It
so
is.
appreciate all that you do and all your work. And I'm so excited for you to be my friend.
Thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for watching today's episode of the Working Women channel. We covered so many items, such as really understanding your voice and your message and knowing that you are your brand, you are your product. And we also talked about the idea of it's okay to continue to tweak things. It's never going to be perfect. We always have to use everything as a growing experience, and just know that wherever you are, you can, continue to grow, and you can continue to touch people's lives by when you know who you are. So thank you again. Remember, you can watch all of the episodes on my website, www.claracapano.com. Have a great day.